Well, here we are, y'all. It's TTT time again. It's time to talk. And tonight, it's a serious matter, okay? But welcome back again to this is where I continue to have people that I know, people in my network, tell their stories to talk about, important issues so that others can be encouraged and understand that they're not in whatever they're going through alone. There are people who are out there who've been through it. And if God brought them through it, then he can bring you through it. So, and I have to welcome y'all. Y'all know this is Glowvember. Okay. I know you thought it was November, but it's Glowvember. And because this is Glowvember, I have two very, very special people that I want to dedicate this to. One is my friend Julie Morgan, who has passed on, who we used to do birthday dinners together or lunches together, and Dr. M. Randolph Thompson, whose birthday would be the 15th. And I just know if he was here during this time, oh my God, his activism, et cetera, would be on a real high. So I know he has us covered from heaven. And so I just want to dedicate this show to them because they're two special people that were born in the month of Glowvember that I love. But tonight, y'all, tomorrow is serious. Y'all. History will be made one way or another tomorrow. And you can decide the fate of this country, whether we keep the havoc that we have now, or we work towards ruining this country, or whether we vote towards a recovery and a healing for the United States of America. Now, make no mistake, it's really, really serious. It's not time to vote for people as a joke. I've heard young people talking about, voting for Kanye because it'll be funny. Well, this is not a funny time. We're not, we'll have fun after the election tomorrow or after the final tallies. But we have their concerns about each party. I know. And how they've not been responsive to people of color or responsive to people with disabilities. But not voting, or silly voting, as I call it, is not the answer. The answer is to vote. Vote, get involved, and hold people accountable for the promises that they make when they're campaigning. Hold the parties accountable for the people that they put out there. There are so many ways to get involved, people, especially on the local level. There are ways to keep in contact with elected officials. And those of you in McKinney, Texas, I had heard about the recall of the gentleman, the city council member. I'm sure I'm going to mess up his name, but it's Lashadian Shimwell. And he's the only Black council member in McKinney. And he was voted in one district. And they have put a recall vote on the ballot where the entire city gets to vote whether to recall him or not, which I have a problem with that because he wasn't voted in by the whole city. He was voted in by by a particular district. So if you're in McKinney and you haven't voted, please go out and vote against this gentleman being recalled. One of the biggest problems they have with them was after the murders of Tatiana Jefferson and Botham Jean, Tatiana in the Fort Worth area and Botham Jean here in Dallas. I think he put in a resolution for a call to an emergency, in the area. And I guess those who did not care for that have been working to get him out of office since then. So it is on the ballot in McKinney, Texas. If you live in McKinney, please vote against having this young man recalled just because he's been standing up for people of color. Now, tonight, I'm going to be talking to a person, and I said things, my network, and some people I just met recently, I haven't known for years and years, but when I know they're cool people, I can bring them on if I want to. And one of those people are Joey Now, Joey, don't. I'm gonna bring you on so you can say your last name correctly because I don't think I've ever said it before. Say your last name for me.
It's Gitzeg.
Say that again.
It's Gitzeg.
Gitzeg. Okay. That's what I was thinking. So I wasn't too far off.
That sounds good. Yeah.
And you are the president of the Texas Democrat Disability Caucus.
That's right.
Okay. And that I was just recently elected secretary by fun. And glad to be a part, not a problem at all. But tell us a little bit about you, Joey.
Well, first I'll just say that I always hate introductions, but I will try. So I guess I could say that my day job, I work as a disability policy fellow, developmental disability policy fellow. And then my volunteer work nonstop is with this caucus. I was elected in 2018 and then reelected, June of 2018, and then reelected this June. Okay. So this is my second term and everything is going really well. It's grown so much. We've done so much and we have amazing volunteers and a lot of activity and a lot of involvement. And it's really changing the way that the party sees the disability community. Okay. And through that, the way that candidates do and the way that everybody else that calls themselves a Democrat does. So okay. It's a big deal.
And the caucus has been going on has it been as active as it is now? It's always been there or?
Oh, no.
Okay.
So the caucus apparently came into being in 2008 or 2009, but 2018 is when things really started taking off.
Okay. And when you're talking about people with disabilities, do you have any number that you can throw out there that are registered voters just to get, people to understand the number of people that we're talking about with disabilities that, we can say this is a huge number that we're talking about?
Well, I do. And so I would say that these numbers come from these researchers at Rutgers, and they said that in 2016, nationally, there were 35.4 million voters that had a disability. And when we talk about the disability vote, it's not only people with disabilities, but their family members, their loved ones, their coworkers and friends, anyone that, works for them, maybe as a personal care attendant. So when we think about the 35.4 million voters that had a disability, and this was in 2016, together with the 27.4 more million voters, the family, the loved ones, the, personal care attendants, everybody else, right? You put those two together, and that is a huge, huge number of people that either are disabled or understand disability and are caring about the disability vote. So to ignore the disability vote is something only to be done to whatever candidate and party's detriment.
Right. Because the caucus does put out a list of candidates that they support, correct?
Yes. So in Texas, so what we've been doing actually, and I was thinking about it earlier, we have this group of candidates in this election, we have been working on vetting and fighting for them since maybe October of last year.
Okay. Wow.
So because, we are one of the few that endorses before the primary.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. In my opinion, it gives us some leverage. Other groups, other Democratic orgs might not do that, but I think for us, it's so important that we get candidates who actually will be responsive to disability issues, do care about people with disabilities, and will actually work with us. So if we can get them through the primary, then we've got our, and then if we can get them through the general,
right. Yeah.
We've actually endorsed, I believe 111 people at all levels of government.
Right. Yeah. And when we say Texas, we're talking about Texas wide, because I'm, here in Dallas, but you're in the Houston area. You're in Harris County.
So I'm actually in Austin.
Oh, you're in Austin. Okay.
So the candidates we've endorsed they're all over the state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
They statewide. So what has the caucus been doing to assist and ensure that people with disabilities are able to show up at the polls or vote absentee or whatever? What are all the activities that have been going on? I know.
Where to start? Let's see. Well, so starting with our kickoff week of action, which this has never been done for the disability community through a Democratic Party before. So we did this week of action. We brought in our candidates, we volunteered, we called, and we had this entire week dedicated to getting out the disability vote and making sure that people understood, more about, hey, look at our community, look at our intersectionality, look at the coalitions we naturally just have, right? And so we did that, and that led to many, many, many nights of volunteering for phone banking and volunteering for text banking with our disability constituency organizer, Alejandrina, which we are we're the only state to have a disability constituency organizer, which is also a huge.
She's good.
She's awesome. She's amazing, and she is helping run this, run and organize this phone bank tonight. This is our last sort of impromptu effort, but we are going. We had, I believe, like 1,200 more people to call. We need as many volunteers as possible, but they are actually calling until 9 tonight. And but yeah, no, calling, texting, emailing, just nonstop. And not only we understand that they're Democrats and they vote in every election, but also to people that others just haven't reached out to before. And also to a lot of people who are eligible to vote by mail, we're finding out whether they're voters with disabilities, and we're giving them a reason to vote because we have candidates that we've vetted, that we've endorsed, that will actually be responsive to them and their issues, which is huge.
Yeah. And that's definitely a reason to vote with the governor that we have.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And I say that we have, though I was not here to vote for him. I say that we have, but to be a person with a disability himself, I was so surprised at the lack of compassion that he has for people with disabilities. And, I understand we talked about it, I think when I was talking to the attorneys a few weeks ago, and I think y'all had made me aware of how he had gotten his disability,
Right.
And so it's like he can't relate to, he has some other mindset about people with disabilities, not realizing he's one, that's what's so interesting.
I think there's a lot of internalized ableism there.
Yeah.
And he just really hates people with disabilities. So I don't know.
Well,
it's interesting to see him, but hopefully we'll vote him out this next round along with Paxton and Dan Patrick. That would be amazing.
That would be wonderful.
Do it.
That would be wonderful. So what's been the biggest challenge, you think, relative to this election for people with disabilities?
Well, this election, voter suppression. Voter suppression. So many constant new attempts of voter suppression. It seems like every day there's something else. And even today, we're still, all I know is that, okay, refused to take this, but now they've brought it over to the Fifth Circuit. So we're waiting to hear about that.
Yeah.
And the drive-through voting is actually, even though it is different from curbside, in many cases, it's more accessible than even curbside voting is. but
Right.
it's not the same. It's definitely not the same, but it's another important option that I know people with disabilities are using. Gosh, but the same records researchers were saying that 60% of polling places had at least one impediment that made it hard for people with disabilities to go and vote. And Disability Rights Texas just, I believe it was either I think it was in the summer, they came out with this report, and it was looking at all of the county websites in Texas and rating them based on how much of the information are they providing for people with disabilities about voting. Are they providing information about how to curbside vote and how to get hold of someone when you do? All of that, horrible. Many of them failed. Only a few of them got, only like 4 of them did really well, and then you've got a lot that are sort of in the middle.
Just okay.
So if you don't know how to vote because they keep changing things, the rules keep changing. The rules keep changing. The locations keep changing. Now all of a sudden you have one drop-off point, right? When they close down all the satellite locations in Harris County. How many states can fit in Harris County again?
Right.
So I would say it's access and also keeping up with the constantly changing information. But we have been there, and we have been putting our number and organizing the community a lot. So hopefully that's going to make a difference. And I think it will. I really think it will, but we'll see.
Okay. Now, and after the election, the caucus remains active in engagement relative to the candidates. I mean, the elected officials, et cetera.
Yes. And so actually, one thing to add is that last legislative session, that was the first time, right before, that was the first time that we'd ever endorsed any candidates under my administration, is how I'm saying it. Okay. We took our questionnaires for candidates and we turned them into bills. And then we got them filed. We actually got 14 bills filed that came directly out of our questionnaire. And so then we worked on about 6 of them, and they made progress. One of them, all the fine details, but one of them is now in the Texas Department of Emergency Management. They're building this emergency task force. They stripped out the grant program at the last minute, but we'll work on that later. There's ones about legal representation. There's ones that deal with voting access and polling place access. And so there's a lot, because really what we thought about was we have one of our people back then, only one made it into the House of Representatives. But this time around, there's going to be a lot more.
Yeah.
Lots more candidates have been interested in our endorsement, which is a good sign.
Right.
So hopefully the plan is we will immediately after the election start working with those candidates and refiling our bills, and maybe even some other ones.
That is such a cool idea. It just made my head sparkle when you talked about turning the questionnaire into legislation. There are a lot of groups could take that and move in that same direction. That's excellent.
Does nothing about us without us, right? So right now, everything is about us without us. And, just thinking about, well, until we get a lot of people with disabilities elected into office, these representatives, as nice as they may be, they're not going to know, right? So we've got to do it ourselves, and we'll give them the bills, and we'll see if they'll take them. We'll see if they'll run with them. And we can do. We did it before, we'll do it again.
Yeah, that's great. Like I said, that's a great strategy that others would need to use. So let's talk a little bit about reason. I had all these reasons that people should vote, and one of the ones I was listening to Senator Kamala Harris on I think she was in Fort Worth or either Houston. I'm not sure which recording I was listening to. And she had a number of them. And one of them was our ancestors. We should vote to honor our ancestors. How does that hit you? What do you What are your thoughts relative to that?
Well, my thoughts are that people with disabilities didn't used to be able to vote. And even today, many people with disabilities, whether it's due to inaccessibility or it's due to systems like guardianship, still can't vote, still denied the right to vote. So, you know, when we have all of these barriers, I mean, this is the life of somebody who's disabled. So we are facing this constantly, and we have to figure out a way to do it anyways. And so it's even more important when they're trying to constantly stop you from voting, to vote, like no matter what, no matter what. So that's what it tells me, thinking about ancestors and thinking about how no one could vote, and then the progress we've made through fighting, right? And having to keep fighting, because they would rather just lock us up in institutions, whether it's a prison, whether it's a jail, or whether it's you know, an asylum. They'd rather do that than have us actually making decisions about our government as people who are governed. So you know, that's what it says to me.
Yeah, that and just thinking about that, yeah, just when you think of the number of people who were locked up in institutions, unjustifiably so, if it's ever justified, and never had the opportunities to vote, you know, never had the opportunities to vote. And we have, you know, people here. I was just listening, and this is, well, I don't know, I'm not necessarily with the disability because I'm not sure what his illness was, but I was just listening to the Oprah Get Out the Vote. They had a prayer thing going on this evening at 7, and she talked of a gentleman in, I want to say Georgia, I'm not sure, but he was in hospice. He got up out of his hospice bed and went to vote. That's how important it was to him. Unfortunately, he passed before tomorrow, and in whatever the state was that he passed, his vote wouldn't be counted. But when you think of how important that is, and you know, you think of our ancestors, the things that they went through to obtain the right to vote, people with disabilities, their lives that have been sacrificed for the right to vote. For us to sit up and say, we just don't want to vote, does not make sense to me.
Well, it's a muscle. It's like you use it or you lose it, is what they say. And this election, called the election of our lifetime, now more than ever, if we don't vote, I don't know if there will be more elections to vote in.
You know, and that sounds unreal in the United States of America, but it goes right to my second reason, because we have so much at stake, because so much is at stake, is a reason to vote tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
We don't even know what we don't know that's at stake. We don't even know what could be going through the minds of these folks that have been around for the last 4 years. I mean, it's been so much that has been just out, so far out of the norm, so far out of just civility, that we don't even know what's at stake, you know, if this person is able to remain in there 4 more years.
I mean, I would say one of the podcasts that I listen to is Gaslit Nation, and the two journalists, they have been basically play by play saying exactly what's going to happen, and it happens. So, you know, we think about Putin and how long has he been in office? You know, just have to listen to the whistleblowers and the people that are telling us what's happening if we want the answers. They've got a survival guide. They've been, you know, partnering with Indivisible and basically anyone that says, hey, we're doing something to try to protect this democracy, right? Or protect this government we have and try to salvage it somewhat.
Right.
So we don't know exactly, but people have done, you know, they have, not only have we history to look to, and not even long time ago history, but very recent history.
Yeah.
Yeah, and simulations as well, with lots of government on both sides. It's not good, not pretty. No.
Yeah. I also have on here, our vote is our power. Some weeks ago, I guess, one of the people that was on was talking about his run. I think it was down in one of our suburbs, Cedar Hill. And I think he won by like 24 votes. And when people say my vote doesn't count, you know, our vote is our power. It's the one thing we can work to be counted. How has, well, I know you know, but tell people how the power of the vote has helped people with disabilities. I mean,
Well, it's about accountability, right? We get to hold people accountable who don't listen to us, who refuse to communicate with us, who claim to represent us but don't understand us. If they vote against what we would want, then we hold them accountable
right.
at the ballot box, right?
Mm-hmm.
We hold them accountable through our vote. Otherwise, how would we, right? So the vote is very important.
All right. Another one I have is to honor those who have been killed on the streets of the nation at the hands of police brutality. When I think about name after name after name, as you know, we always say, call their name, the Breonna Taylors, the George Floyds, the Sandra Blands, and there are women and men who've had this encounter. They can't vote, they can't vote. So if there's no other reason to vote, vote for them. If you can't find a reason, vote for them.
Absolutely. Vote for them. And also many victims of police brutality are also disabled.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They say at least half, if not more. And of course, with our white supremacist roots in this country, most are, Black or brown. But
Right.
the disability seems to be left out of the conversation often. But it really is a disability issue too. It's an intersectional issue, and it's something we should all be thinking about and fighting against. Absolutely.
Yeah. And just one of the latest incidents with the gentleman who had mental illness, and that's a common theme, as you said, relative to the police brutality.
They don't understand. They don't understand at all. And that's a whole other conversation. I went through the Citizens Police Academy for Information.
Mm-hmm.
That was something else. Learned a lot. And actually on week 2, I went and got a bill filed about that. During the session, it was during the legislative session before the last day to file bills, and I was horrified. So
wow.
But yeah, I mean, there's so many things we have to do, and we have to elect people who will, one, acknowledge a problem that exists.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, right? You never realize how important it is that somebody can acknowledge reality in that way. And who will work with us, who will work with people.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah.
And I think that these ones, we can hold them accountable and push them. So.
Yeah. When I lived in Maryland, I remember there was an arrest of a young man with Down syndrome. So it hit me, really interestingly, because that's what my son deals with. And they arrested him because he would not leave a theater because he had seen one movie and then he went to another theater to see another movie, when you have multiple things, and he wouldn't leave. So they arrested him. And it was just like, and it got heated, and I don't think the young man was killed.
Was this Ethan? Was it Ethan?
I think so.
He was killed.
He was killed.
By the cops.
I'm trying to remember. Don't forgive me. But it was a horrific. I'm just like, are we serious? And it's just unbelievable. That one, it's hard for me to deal with that one, but nonetheless. So another one I have is about the young children. To honor those young children who have been separated from their parents, who will now become a part of the system that people want to deny their necessity, like health care, education for all. Now, we and okay, when you deal with children, it gets to me. But we are dealing with people who want to look at one issue and vote for the president that's in there. They want to look at the abortion issue, but there's and which is dealing with life, but there's another life to be dealt with, the children that are here, and these children are neglected. And when they go into our system, we have to pay for them to be taken care of. And we don't, the other side doesn't even want to do that. So
Right.
you want life so bad on one side, but you don't want it after it all, it's already here. And so my thing is, let's vote for those children who have no voice. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joy.
No, I was thinking, and I wish it was somebody on TikTok, and I wish I remembered their name, and I'll see if I can find it, but probably not because it's hard to find anything on TikTok. But what they said is that the GOP is not pro-life, that they're pro-birth. They're pro-birth, but definitely not pro-life, because they don't care after you're alive and living. They don't care about you.
Okay.
So I was like, oh, I've never heard it like that, but that
Right.
makes much sense.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the most reactive, I mean, if you think about how everything is connected and how everything starts when you're young, right?
Yeah.
And it follows you throughout life. So if you don't get access to critical, early childhood services, right, and supports, we've got people with disabilities, children with disabilities that are on waiting lists because they don't want to be forced into an institution,
Right.
sometimes for 15 or more years, right?
Wow.
Separated from their family and have to go into these institutions where there's no wait, just so they could, access some services that they can't get in their community, and then you think about, you've now waited 15 years and now you've introduced the service because they've just made it to the end of the waiting list, right? Now they can, if they manage to get that notification, then they can get something. Right. But how far along are they? And how much learning time have we lost? How much is this going to really help them? And we think about that, and it's not only people with disabilities, it's everyone.
Yeah.
For your whole life. And we just don't even value who we have and the potential in everyone. We don't at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of my peeves in life, is how, I don't think we value children as much as we should, because they are to be, to be unnoticed, quiet, sit over there, be still, don't be who God made you to be who I want you to be. It's all these things we do to children that that's why one of my things in life, anytime I see a child, I just try to speak life into them and tell them they're the most handsome or beautiful person in the whole wide world, and they're going to do great things, because I don't know what that child has been through or what they're going through or whatever, because we don't value children. I remember when I first was introduced to the disability movement, and I can't remember where it was, but I saw a film and where it just blew me away, because I didn't realize that animals had rights before children. And I'm like, huh? And so I was just like, are you serious? And children were the property of, the parents. And so they didn't have rights, and there were dogs that had rights before, children. And I'm like, okay, that's real interesting. I didn't know that, but yeah. So my children that's a serious thing. So we need to vote for the children. We need to vote for the children for the future. And if you can't find any other reason, well, I have to honor the people who have died from COVID, or some are so sick they're unable to vote or communicate to vote or get their absentee ballot to vote or whatever the case may be. There are people out there who just can't vote right now.
And we've found that as we've contacted around 90,000 people and made a lot of calls, and we've run into folks where that's the case, where I, as somebody with disabilities, feel I don't feel right trying to have them potentially endanger their life.
Yeah.
To vote. It's their call. So when they say that they're going to take care of themselves, that's what they're going to do. Then that, look what the government has put you into the situation. You're take care of yourself first, right?
Yeah.
But absolutely, that's the case for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the disability community is growing tremendously because of long COVID. So
yeah. I forgot, I used to teach a class also in Maryland, and I forgot the rate that people, it's one of the fastest growing communities, the people with disabilities, because it comes from all, it comes from everywhere,
everyone, everywhere.
Yeah. And if you have no other reason, if you've lost someone in your family in the past 4 years, they don't have an opportunity to vote. So vote in place of them. And, it's just so many reasons to vote, Joey. So many reasons to vote. And if you can't think of one, just do it anyway.
Right. And we tell people to vote for Democrats up and down the ballot. I find the easiest way, since we have so many endorsed candidates, to make sure that they're going to vote for our candidates. But, for people with disabilities, especially, I don't know when we've ever had so many endorsed candidates before, because we are unique. We are the only statewide partisan organization that offers candidate endorsements. All of the other disability organizations are nonpartisan. So, that they are going to be responsive to our community, and that's unique, and that should bring people with disabilities out to vote.
Yeah.
I think anyways.
Joy, what's the website? Is it Texas Dems Disability?
Yes,
Okay.
it is. And I actually have a Google Doc that I'm going to share with you, and it has basically all of our links. So not only all of our links for a ride to the polls or a ride to drop off your ballot, the locations to do that, the Disability Rights Texas Voter Protection Hotline. So it's basically like our whole toolkit, and also has all of our information about the caucus and how to sign up and stuff.
Okay. So I'll put that, add that in some way. I have to figure that out. Look, I have to figure that out, how we do that. But I'm gonna put the website up here as soon as I can get it typed in.
Okay, one sec. Let's see.
It's ABITIES. Look, I don't claim to be the most technically sound person. Let's see, did I do it right? TexasDemDisabilities.com. Does that look right?
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, no, it's on the screen. Okay.
Yeah.
It was in the chat.
Okay.
I looked at the screen, it's right there.
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
So that is, if you want to get more information relative to voting, relative if there's a disability involved, or it's just good information, period.
Yes.
But geared for people with disabilities, or if you're interested in becoming a part of the caucus or attending the meetings, which are all virtual now. For now,
well, they've always been virtual.
Oh, they have always been virtual. Okay.
Yeah, people with disabilities, we're digital. We were in the digital realm, and then everyone else sort of caught up.
Okay.
It's more accessible, in a lot of ways.
So Joy, you can hang around if you want to. My other guest has come, and so I want to bring her in and get her started, because she has, oh God, she has She's something else. Look, and she's not on her screen, so I'm gonna put her on there anyway and mess with her. Miss Emma Rogers. Tell Emma Rogers we're calling her. She'll be so, uh-oh, wrong way. I don't want to be the
That's a cool sweatshirt, though.
Huh?
That's a very cool sweatshirt.
Yeah, she's in my sorority, and so she's I'm trying to put, okay, that's better. She has all these beautiful, there she is. She's the everyone who's on here. Unmute yourself, Sarah Emma. You're muted. There you are.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So we've been talking with Joey Gidset, if I said it right. You know, I'm bad, Joey. Don't talk about me. But relative to people with disabilities, and she's been talking with us about the Texas Democratic Disability Caucus, and so we've been just talking about all the challenges, etc. And you know, they're common. You know, they're common for people of color. They're common, you know, for just disadvantaged, poor, just so many people. But Reverend Dr. Emma Rogers. Okay, Emma Rogers she's a Dallas icon. Would that be a word? Dallas. I don't want to say legend because you're still alive. Can you be a legend when you're alive?
A living legend.
Okay, she's a living legend. That's what she is. Okay. She's a living legend. And I just love her to death because I just like to sit at her feet and just hear and listen and do all those things because she has just so much knowledge. And she used to have Black Images Bookstore, which I frequented when I was here before. And now you are for the Civil
Rights Museum, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Dallas Civil Rights Museum. Is that what you're talking about? Or are you
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about? Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
Do you
can you put a little volume up on your thing so we can hear you clearly?
Okay, just a minute. I had to go to my iPad because, okay, is that better?
That's a little better. I can hear you a little better. I'll just try to turn the volume up on here.
I'll turn it all the way up. Yeah.
Okay.
We're being challenged here in Oak Cliff with our internet service.
Oh, really?
But can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. So, what have you been doing all day?
Well, I'm busy, but one thing when I walk 4 miles every day. So when my girlfriend and I were walking in Glendale Park today, we walked up to people and asked them if they had voted, and if they had, we gave them this sticker. And the sticker says, "I voted because my life depends on it."
Wow.
So, and if they didn't vote, one man said he could. I said, okay, well, give it to somebody who can. I said, another man, he said, no, I don't vote. I said, well, give it to somebody who can vote, and he smiled, you know. So we just passed these out in the park as we were doing our 4-mile walk today.
And
just reminding people to vote and reminding them to call a friend, text a friend, email a friend. But there was a slogan a few years ago, arrive with 5 when you go to the polls. So if you use that slogan, whatever the slogan is, you know, call 5 people. And also we're voting all over the United States. So,
right.
One candidate I was pushing here, and she's on the Democratic ballot, Judge Elizabeth Zell, because she's running for a criminal court.
Right.
And it's all Republicans on it. So there's absolutely no diversity on this. So I wrote my cousins who live in other states and asked them to call their cousins and their friends here in Texas to ask them to vote for them. Well, I have a cousin who lives in Arkansas. And so I made a donation to a candidate there. You know, we need to support these people all over the United States.
Oh, yeah.
Or House of Representatives, whatever, because this election is one of the most critical elections in our lifetime. It hasn't been one, I don't think, since 1908. So this is it's very important that we remind people to vote, and to vote, like I think I heard Joey said earlier, to vote, not only at the top of the ticket, but all the way down ballot. So I've been receiving a lot of texts from Faith in Texas or this organization or that organization asking me if I voted. And I said, yes, I voted on October 13th. I said, no, we voted on October 13th, talking about my husband and my daughter. And then, I've been receiving texts all day long about encouraging us to vote, and I'm thankful for that. So, you know, you just ask somebody else, and the people I'm walking up to, most of them have voted, but we want them to pass the information on. We have got to do this. We've got to get this momentum going. And you and I were on that call earlier tonight, that faith call that Oprah On Your Own Vote had. Well, I was looking through my emails, and Faith in Texas had a something similar in last month. Rest, breathe, and relax.
Yeah.
Because you got to. We're all anxious about everything that's happening right now.
Yeah.
We're fearful, we're anxious. There's a lot of bullying going on. We are very concerned for our country, but we're really concerned for what's going to happen, what kind of world or country we're going to leave our children.
Right.
So we're going to vote, not only because my ancestor, my grandfather was born in 1869, my grandmother was born in 1870. So I know they were disenfranchised, okay? My mother was born in 1921, and along the way, she was probably disenfranchised. But my parents always bought poll taxes, okay? So I've always been focused on voting. So now, to honor them, of course, in memory of them, we're voting. But in honor of our children, I have 2 grandchildren, and they're children all over this neighborhood. And we're voting for them, for their quality of life.
Yeah.
I've been on the planet for 76 years, okay? Let's say I have another 25, okay? Good. We've got to vote for the children.
Yeah.
It's a better world for them so that they will live in a better environment. So that when they have people elected when we elect the commissioners, the sheriff, judges, mayors, presidents, senators, and what have you, we model for them about. When I took my daughter to vote, the first time I took a picture of that, I wanted her to know that this was just as significant as anything else, more significant than some other things in her life. Plant that seed so that your children will vote on time. And I'm going to call my son tomorrow. And he said, I vote because I know I was getting this call. Because we've been so busy trying to get everybody else to vote. I know they have if they want to continue living on this planet. I know they have voted. But we've got to follow up with them. We've got to make this world better. Education, housing, 2020 has been a very challenging year for us. We've had 2 pandemics, the coronavirus and the racial injustice virus, systemic white supremacy, whatever you want to call it. We've been dealing with it, but it's come to fore. We have always known it existed, but with the murder of George Floyd, it just brought it to bingo, to light for everybody. Those people said, y'all are being too sensitive. They got it. When that man with his knee on George Floyd's neck. So everybody gets it. So we've just got to make it better for our children. When they elect these people, not only elect them, but we got to teach them to follow through.
Yeah.
Work on committees. Volunteer to serve on committees that your city councilman or city councilwoman may have. I was appointed by my city councilwoman in 2007 to serve on the Dallas City Plan and Zoning Commission. So I turned out after 8 years. I learned a lot. So you pass this on, whatever you learn, you pass it on to the people you're associated with, your children, your church, your sorority, your community organizations. You pass that information on. So once they get elected, then you follow through, serve on committees, hold them accountable. When items come up on the city plan, on the city council, let them have your voice. Text them, call them, or whatever. Yeah. When they have budget hearings, go to those meetings. And now they're all virtual, but attend the virtual meeting and what have you. But we have to model for our children how to be good citizens. And in fact, my daughter went to R.L. Thornton Elementary School, which is in our neighborhood, walking distance. When they had student council elections, Miss Peterson was a council. She had actual voting machines in there. So
Yeah.
children would know what to do. So
How do you?
when we came along, we were taught civics. I don't know if civics is still taught in school. I know we had civics in high school and in college, but I don't know what the curriculum calls for now. But
Well, they call it government, I think now. I'm not sure what all it entails, but I think they call it government. So yeah.
But we were taught to be, like I knew all the cabinet members.
Mhm.
I knew
Oh
all
no.
the questions, and so we need to help our children learn about that, and especially when we see people who look like us in those places.
Yeah.
Black, brown, disabled, any kind of thing. And that really helps when we
Yeah.
see people look like us. We can make a better connection.
Yeah. I don't know if you heard earlier when Joey was talking about, because I asked what did the caucus do after the elections once people were elected, and it was just a strategy that, and maybe I'm just dingy, I hadn't thought about it or whatever, but because I have to say we now, okay, we support candidates, or support different candidates. There's a questionnaire that they use, to vet the candidates, et cetera. And what they do after the election, they take the questionnaire and turn those things into legislation, or work to turn those things into legislation. I'm like, that's a brilliant strategy, because if you're asking those questions to vet someone, hopefully they're questions that are significant and need change or working towards something. And you just take those and start writing them into legislation as much as you can, and getting those people who you have supported to, make some of those things happen. And I'm like, that's a great strategy. We need to use that all over.
And speaking of that strategy, Councilwoman Elsie Faye Higgins served on the Dallas City Council. She take the agenda that was going to be coming before the city council. She would take it to her community and go over each of those items and get their input about how they felt about that.
Wow.
What they wanted. So, that was a good model. And I think it's a good model for all of our council people and representatives, like what you said, whatever they use to vet the candidate, and turn that around and put it to use for the community, for whoever they're representing.
Yeah. So I ran into somebody tonight and making my calls and this person, I'm not going to say the name, but I'll talk with you about it. And they said they had just decided to sit out this election. What would you say to them?
Okay, I would say that you'll have to suffer the consequences. Do not complain about one thing, that street light that doesn't work, don't complain. That hole in the ground on your street, don't complain. They're cutting out this particular class at your child's school, do not complain. They're bringing some zoning into your neighborhood that you do not like, don't complain. All right? When you vote, you're using your voice. You have the right to complain and you have some leverage.
Yeah.
But if you don't participate, don't complain. Don't say anything. And the thing, and whatever, I don't know why you would sit it out, but for whatever reason you're sitting out, you're giving somebody else a benefit by sitting out. Not voting for someone gives their constituency the advantage.
Yeah.
You need to participate. You need to participate. I don't know why anyone would sit it out. And I had people, we have the Dallas Civil Rights Museum in the Martin Luther King Center. All right. Well, on Tuesday they have a legal on the second, third, and fourth, whatever Tuesday, 3 Tuesdays a month they have the legal clinic. So I would be up there on Tuesday because I had a captive audience, so they could come through the museum and look. And then I said, "Are you registered to vote?" Because I'm a deputy volunteer registered. Oh no, I don't vote. And I wanted to say, well, why are you here getting this free legal clinic? Okay. Why are you here if you don't vote? Because the fact that there's a legal clinic, somebody's legislation provided it.
Provided.
Your tax
Yeah.
dollars provided it some kind of way. So why are you here? And then people say, well, I don't vote. Well, why are you going up there to get food stamps, or it's called something else now? But why are you trying to get those, or disability? But you don't vote. So if you don't vote, don't apply for disability. If you don't vote, don't go to the free legal clinic. So don't participate in that. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, now for tomorrow, my concern is going to be electioneering, which I know there's a legal way to, I guess, do this. But I was looking at something that came out, and it was saying electioneering, advocating for or against a candidate, measure, or political party. But it's only allowed outside a 100-foot zone. Electioneering is allowed. Campaign workers may provide handouts, hold signs, and give speeches. What is not allowed inside the 100-foot zone, electioneering is prohibited. No one is allowed to wear any items, share handouts, signs, etc., which promote a candidate, measure a political party. Inside a 1,000-foot zone, megaphones and speakers are prohibited. I'm concerned, and my thing, I'll be riding around tomorrow to see, but I'm concerned that there's going to be some funny stuff going on. Joey, any thoughts on that? And Emma, you can go with her. Joey, I can't hear you.
Let me turn on my mic.
Yeah, any thoughts on that?
Well, we are hearing all kinds of things, right? So we're hearing if you're going to go vote earlier in the day. Don't go alone. And I mean, we really don't know what's going to happen, but just practice safety measures, I guess I would say. Bring water, bring snacks in case the line is long. Maybe even a folding chair, although I don't know if you can bring that in with you. But you do technically have the right to move to the front of the line, but it's up to the election judge.
I did see somewhere, if you're a person with a disability and you have an attendant, I'm trying to see, you can ask them to move ahead in the line, but will people be afraid if they see this stuff going on? Emma, go ahead.
I'm optimistic and I'm hopeful. There is a lot of intimidation going on from number 45. A lot of things, misinformation is being put out there to intimidate people and to try to make them afraid to go to the polls. But being housed at Martin Luther King, I've seen those election judges handle everything perfectly. Number one, like you said, you can't come in there with an Obama purse, okay? Or anything, you have to leave that out. If you have a shirt on that say you want to vote for Joe Biden and Harris, you have to turn it inside out to go in. So, and that makes sense. I understand that. Like you said, all the elections occur so many feet away. The media, nobody can come in except those people who want to vote. And many organizations have dispatched attorneys, like our sorority and other sororities, fraternities, and other organizations have dispatched attorneys all over to go monitor and serve as election judges, to serve as observers. And we even have people from foreign countries observing us. Not to control anything, just to look at the process to see how it's done. So, but for the American people who are there for that, they will. I just sometimes there are problems, but they're able to work that out. Between, you'll have the Democrat observers and the Republican observers, and I guess observers as well. But they can. it may be tense because of everything that's going on, but I think that the people who will be working there will have a lot of integrity. Many of them will have a lot of integrity and will try to do the best for our
Yeah.
nation, because we're already uptight and tense,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
this is the most contentious presidential election in my lifetime
Yeah.
and our lifetime. And so we need to be prayerful and be thankful for the people who will be there, who have been through the training, who, as my daddy would say, who know the rules and regulations for the situation. Okay.
Well, Emma, I hope a lot of those same people are there because, that was one of the issues relative to when this all, started with the COVID and everything, because a number of those people, are up in age and they were concerned about their health and, other things, relative to the election. But I'm just, like you say, being hopeful and prayerful that, the good folks are still there to keep things in order. But and then some of it, it'll be outside, so it's just going to be interesting to see the stories that we hear tomorrow, because I know there'll
And
be some.
it's just like in life. The children who go to school are wonderful, but that little
Mm.
5% that gets into trouble, that's what we need. That's going to
Don't
be
be talking about me.
that's the thing with the election. You're
Yeah,
going to have 80% of the people doing the right thing,
yeah,
but that little 20% will be doing something different. And hopefully, all those who were concerned about their health did vote early. But life
yeah,
does happen. There's some people who were waiting to vote on the actual election day, and they became ill. Well, when you
yeah,
become ill, you have to have a doctor's statement in order to go vote on that day. So there are a lot of situations.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I want to share something with the audience. If you don't know where you're supposed to vote, if you have not seen your ballot, you can use vote411.org to get your information on where you need to vote on tomorrow. Because I know you're going if you haven't gone, so you got to go. And then once you get there, if you're having problems, this is one of the hotlines you can call, or the hotline you can call, 866 our vote. If you're having problems, call this number, put it in your cell phone right now as we're talking, and so that you can call if you're having issues tomorrow. And for those in the Dallas area, DART is giving free rides. So check out DART if you need a ride to the poll. But ladies and gentlemen, this is just too important for us to sit at home tomorrow. Give somebody a ride if you can. I'm gonna give each one of you closing words. Joey, since you were on first, I'll let you go first, and then Emma, I'll let you close us out, and then I'll close us out. Joey, any final words for the audience?
I would just say to go to our webpage. So it's the link that you shared, Gloria, and then you have a slash, and then you have voter dash resources. And I put all of those links there, and the phone numbers for Disability Rights Texas, for Rideshare to Vote. All of those resources are there, and they are helpful whether you're disabled or not disabled. And to vote, because your life does depend on it, and all of our lives do. So thank you so much for having me on, and it was cool to hear from both of y'all. And
I love it. Hey, we have work to do, and we're better together. We're better together.
Absolutely.
All right, Emma.
Well, I want to encourage everyone to go vote, call someone else to remind them to vote, and ask the person that you don't normally ask if they voted, to encourage them to. There are a lot of resources out there to transport you to the polls, so go Google those. Of course, they're practicing safety, so wear your mask, protect yourself, take your hand sanitizer. I think, like Joey said earlier, take some snacks to eat. And you can, because when I voted on October 13th, the first day that we could vote in Texas, there was a woman with one of those little chairs that she sat down in the line, and, you could keep moving it up. So, and by all means, wear comfortable shoes. We have gorgeous weather, so there's no excuse for not getting out. And you can vote anywhere. You don't have to go to your normal voting place. You can vote anywhere. So do that and have your ID that's required, Texas driver's license, or if you've been in the military or passport or anything, be sure you have that information. You want to make it simple. You want to make this as easy as possible. So, and you can take your information in there. You can't, I used to call it cheat sheet, but you can take your ballot in there to know what you're going to vote for, the propositions you're going to vote for. You can take that in there to vote so that you can vote intelligently and be safe and stay healthy and stroll to the polls.
Stroll to the polls. That's what we'll be doing tomorrow, strolling to the polls. And I hope y'all will join me next week. We're going to have the Emmy-winning Ray Dotch. He was one of the executive producers from the Leah Remini special, Scientology, The Aftermath. And so he'll be with us next week to talk about the series. And as usual, I always close in prayer. And there's a prayer that's circling around on Facebook. So I'm going to use that one tonight. And it says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Lord, we need you. Please sweep through this nation and heal this land. Restore our strength, renew our minds, and cast out anything that's not of you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. We should pray for our country. And as I say every Monday, y'all be safe, wear your mask, go vote tomorrow if you haven't voted. And I love you. Keep your peace. Good night. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
How do I get out?